Hey, welcome back to this edition of the Ruralpreneur Podcast. I'm Terrence Hughes, and I'm joined today by my friend Vin McCauley. Vin, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Terrence. Happy to be
Awesome.
here.
So Vin, tell us your story. Give us a brief overview of your journey as an entrepreneur. Kind of what's your background?
All right. Grew up in Ellington, Connecticut, which is a farm town in northern Connecticut, north of Hartford. Not the rich part of Connecticut, not the Greenwich outside of New York part. This is super rural, affectionately called Smellington because of the amount of manure we had access to, and sort of famously known to have more cows than people. So definitely rural. And our our property had a barn on it, and my parents let me use their barn and their pickup truck. And my first business was a landscaping business. And I was working for a landscaper in high school, and I've always been entrepreneurial. I didn't necessarily know it at the time, but he kept giving me more and more to do. And when his father got sick, I ended up running his company for the summer as like an 18-year-old. And at the end of the summer, I ended up purchasing a third of his business as he was going to close it. But that helped put me through college. I ended up owning that. That was my first business, was a landscaping business. I've always liked business. My dad was a businessman, and I went into investment banking at a college downtown Boston, and just hated it. Hated everything about it. And it almost put me at this really early midlife crisis of like, I thought I liked business, but I'm doing it at a high level, but I really hate investment banking. I called my dad. It was a bit of a pivotal moment in the sense of like, is this just being a man? Shoot me straight. Do I just need to suck this up, do this for 40 years and then retire? Is this just like me losing entitlement or something? Is that because I'm miserable? And he said, no, you've got to be happy. You should pursue happiness, and the money will come. Don't worry about the money if you are type thing. So I met with a headhunter, and I said, I'm looking to get out of investment banking. I took some aptitude testing, and I ranked really high in sales. As a kid, I went to speech therapy, and so sales was never a thought of something that I might do, like talking and being persuasive and things like that. So I sort of laughed it off, and he's like, Vin, I really think you have natural giftings in this area. You should really think about it. I was like, I don't even know where to start. So this was in 2001. He said, you could sell cars, you could sell real estate, or you could sell pharmaceuticals. Those are going to be three real easy sales paths. That's going to also include some training. Pharmaceuticals at the time would help if you were an attractive female. Real estate, you needed a runway. You need a long runway. I was like maybe 23 years old. I had no runway. I was living check to check. And then cars, I loved cars. And so I did a really counterintuitive move. I went from investment banking to a car dealership. Worked for a really good car dealership, an auto group that offered training though. And I did that for 2 years, really got some hard-nosed sales training, and was the difference maker for the rest of my career. Super glad that I did that. Let me see. Knew I wasn't long for car sales. I had more. Wanted to be in business, so I opened up an Italian restaurant called Vinny's of New York. That was in Hartford, Connecticut. Promptly lost not only whatever I had saved, but my best friend's inheritance. We did that. We lost that money real quick. A lot of our food was walking out the back door, I came to learn later, just being stolen by the staff. Destitute with not even enough gas money to start my next job. A friend got me a job at a car dealership, so that came up again. And having the name Vinny, selling cars, being a businessman, I'd say is humbling. I moved back to Boston, worked at a Mini Cooper dealership, which was #1 in the country at the time, and met my wife. And so glad that I sort of humbled myself, went back. Being a businessman, they thought, and in car dealerships, the bar is low. The bar can be really low. And so it's easy to stand out. And so I got promoted, went to the BMW Lamborghini dealership, ran that for a while, and then got the bug again. And I bought a hair salon. I invested in a hair salon that my mom started 50 years ago that came up for sale, and I thought that would be a neat legacy way to honor her. and I liked the residual aspects or the recurring aspects of a hair salon. I also like that I don't cut hair, or I'm not a beautician, so I had to work on the business. I literally could not work in the business.
Yeah.
But after making rooms full of women cry in management meetings, I realized also this is not the business for me, and I had an opportunity to leave, and I sold and had a very small win. I started a golf course review website, and I did that for 9 months before I learned that 501c3s can't participate in marketing without threatening to lose their 501c3 status. And so after 9 months of building and working, I had a failed business model on a really early, easy to know situation. I saw an opportunity. No one's doing this. Why isn't anybody doing this? I am smart. I will do it. I will fill the hole in the marketplace that's there, not realizing there was a reason there was a hole in the marketplace. I pivoted. My wife was going to a CrossFit gym. It was expensive, and they needed a website. So I bartered for a website. Next thing you knew, I was in the CrossFit website business. Ended up doing several hundred websites in 23 countries. As CrossFit grew, I grew. So it was a rising tide, and I just was along for that ride. In entrepreneurship, they say sometimes it's better to be lucky than smart. And that is those types of situations where people might have looked at me and said, wow, Vin's smart. Look, that business is growing. He's in 23 countries and doing hundreds of websites. The reality was I had no clue what I was doing. I was absolutely reacting to what was happening. And I got an education in agency ownership during that time. While that company was level 1 sites, while I was building that, people came in. I was building websites, meeting entrepreneurs. Somebody came in and said, I have an idea. His name is Mike Salguero. I have an idea. I want to ship meat and across the country. And, CrossFitters eat grass-fed meat. What do you think of this idea? Is there something we can do here where we could get grass-fed meat to CrossFit gyms, or is there a connection here? And we started a subscription meat company that turned into a subscription smoothie company. That turned into one of the fastest growing companies in the U.S., which is neat. I took equity in lieu of payment for that website, which is one of the smarter things that I've done, besides marrying my wife. And I left in December. I started DTC Brand Builders, and my most recent venture, I'll end here, Tance, is ContentX, which is a SaaS, a Shopify app. I'm really bullish on the e-com ecosystem. And so that is my entrepreneurial journey. 45 years old. I think I've been in 9 businesses, and I do advisory work, investment work, and probably another.
Nice, man. That's a journey. You've had your hand in a few different industries there, but these are all good lessons learned, obviously, over time, and help make you a well-rounded individual. So, so tell me more then about your. We heard the stories about a lot of those journeys, but elaborate on your grass-fed beef subscription business or your involvement with that business. You didn't say a lot there, but I understand it was one of the faster-growing companies. So, tell us a little bit more about your journey there.
So that was Mike Salguero walked in with this idea. He was the CEO of CustomMade.com, and CustomMade.com was a Google-backed venture. I think they raised 20-something million. Him and his partner, and it was a marketplace for custom goods. Mm-hmm. And there was also, I think, a flaw in that business model. I wasn't involved in it, but it didn't do what they were hoping that it would do. And I think it got bought by Wayfair in Boston, or absorbed or something. But Mike, his wife was having some health problems with her thyroid and was exploring anti-inflammatory diets and came across grass-fed beef and actually bought a cow and did a cow share where they had it butchered and shared it with people in their church. I think 4 people. I think they went 4 ways on a cow. And so here they are sort of on a dining room table.
Yeah.
Cow parts. And Mike said there's got to be a better way. And so he lived in Cambridge, Mass. He went to a church that had a lot of sort of smart people. So he got some branding people. ButcherBox was available as a URL. So he bought it. ButcherBox, a guy in his church did the branding for it. He came to me, and we built, my agency built the website for it. And It was bootstrap. I think the real interesting part of the ButcherBox story is that we never took investment. I never took outside investment, and it it did close to 600 million last year.
Wow. That's incredible.
So we launched a Kickstarter campaign, hit our goal within 24 hours. Then it triggered a whole bunch of other stuff where we were like on the cover of different magazines, publications, and ended up raising 200 something thousand on Kickstarter. It also identified our first 1,000 subscribers, and ButcherBox launched as a subscription frozen meat service, really with the goal to brand meat. With this thought that meat is not branded, it's sort of saran wrapped in your grocery store on a piece of styrofoam, and there was an opportunity there to actually create a brand that people could rally behind. And in order to have vision, it needed to have care for animals, different things that Mike, the CEO, was passionate about.
Yeah. Wow. So this large company growing out of cows, and obviously you said you originated from a town that had more cows than people, so you've got a lot of experience around cows.
That's really interesting. That's actually super interesting. I never made that connection. That cows have actually been a instrumental part of my journey.
So any future business model needs to involve cows, and it's probably going to be successful for you.
I will, milk, dairy. I'm keeping my eyes out for other entrepreneurial cow adjacent. Yeah.
Any cow business.
That's
cow
right.
Cow tent X. Anyways, I shouldn't have said that. So tell me about in your journey, and you touched on this briefly in your early days, but tell me about in your journey, kind of what's been that pivotal moment in your entrepreneurial journey where you just knew, wow, this is in my blood and I can't shake this. Yeah. I've got to be an entrepreneur. I know that that's my calling. Kind of tell me a little bit about that moment in your life where you just really realized that was your calling.
There's two. There's more than two, but there's two that I'll limit myself to here. One of them was the landscaping company. When I was landscaping, somebody came up to me and said, I like the work you're doing. Can I pay you to come to my house this weekend, basically do side work? And I thought, yeah, that's great. And I told my parents, and they said, you can't do that. You had that man's t-shirt on and you were in his truck. That is his business. And so I went back and said to the boss, hey, this happened. And he goes, take it. You have my blessing. And I went, and I don't remember. I'm going to make up the numbers a little bit here because it's foggy. But let's say I was making 300 every 2 weeks or something. This was back in the 90s. Or 500 every 2 weeks. I quoted 500 for the weekend job, and they took it. They were excited. Like, that's all? You sure? And I was like, I was scared to say 500. And so I went and did the work, and they paid me 500. I thought, holy moly, I just made 2 weeks worth in one weekend. It made it hard to work for the gym after that. And it rattled in my brain the whole summer. And I wasn't bitter at Jim. It was just like, how do I do that? How do I be Jim? I wasn't mad that I wasn't Jim. It was like, how do I be a Jim? And so there was that. That was highlight where I thought, boy, I do this work and I make $8 an hour. I do the same exact work as owner and I made 500.
Yeah.
I want to be the owner.
Absolutely.
So that was number one. Number two was when I was 25 and I hadn't yet defined my entrepreneurial journey. And my father said, what do you like? What do you want to do? And I go, I don't know. I just want to sort of grow a company. He's like, that's not how it works, Vin. I go, well, how's it work, Dad? He says, well, let's say you like tennis. Then you'd start a tennis racket company and sell a bunch of tennis rackets. I was like, well, I don't really care what it is I'm selling per se. It's the act of growing something. It could be knibbly pins. Like I don't want to do drugs or anything like that, but there's boundaries. But me and my father were thinking about business completely different. And at that point, I realized, wow, it's actually business that I'm into. And I realized it's better for me not to be into the actual business I'm in. From a hobby standpoint, like if I do like tennis, I actually don't want a tennis racket company because I want to continue to enjoy tennis. That's or like I don't play tennis, but using that example. So those were two super instrumental periods. I would say September 11th, the attacks on the World Trade Center, that was instrumental in pushing me out of investment banking because I had this early crisis of like working in the financial district, having this feeling of like misery and dread and then like anxiety because of the attacks. And there was like, I had this very early situation where I questioned what I wanted to do. And I picked the harder path by a mile.
Yeah.
I don't
Wow.
regret it, but I absolutely picked the harder path.
Your second story resonates a lot more with me because what you said is how I see business in that it doesn't really matter what I'm selling. I love business. I love to see something grow. I love to build. I'm a projects guy. Um, in my life, I've also sold web design services, landscaping services, home decor products, coffee, storage units, real estate, marketing services, you name it. I've been in a few things, right? And currently am in some of those things. And for me, it's like I'm not necessarily the world's best at any type of trade or craft. But what I am good at is building a business and building projects and putting the systems together and seeing it come to fruition and growing it. And I tell people that all the time. And on the flip side, I would say in a lot of cases, people who are really good at something, some craft, some skill, a lot of times they don't necessarily make for the best business people, but they're so good at something that they say, oh, I can make a business out of this and make more money. And yeah, you can, but you've got to have a business mind also and not just be the best
Yep.
bowl maker or, shoe creator or whatever it may be. And that's where I've realized is that I'll never be known for this one type of skill or craft per se, or that my skill or craft is business. And that's what I enjoy. And so I can definitely relate to that because once I realized that I could get in and market and sell kind of anything, um, that's when it really just clicked with me, what you said there. So I can definitely see that.
Yeah, that's neat.
And I would
I
encourage anybody listening to think about that, right? It's not to discourage people from pursuing being an entrepreneur, pursuing business, but it's just something to think about. Is your passion truly just that passion, and you need to bring somebody alongside you to help on the business side of things, or do you just really love business that much?
totally. I've seen that mistake in all businesses. So in car sales, number one car salesman, they make him a manager. He's a horrible manager. He's an incredible salesman. You're like, what? Well, it's a natural progression of promotion. And if he didn't get that promotion, he'd feel passed over. But just because he's good at A doesn't mean he's good at B. Our best hairdressers were not managers.
Right.
So that what you're saying translates, I think, across anyone's journey of just sometimes it's good to know what you're good at.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So on to your current venture, right? Past
Okay.
ButcherBox. We've talked about the growth there. You had an incredible run there. Obviously, grew a huge company, had a lot of success. And so now you're moving into this new journey with Content X, which is a Shopify app that helps with. Well, I'll let you describe it, but it's pretty exciting to hear about. It's pretty new for you.
Okay. So the segue between sort of meat and Shopify apps would be we launched Smoothie Box, which was a frozen smoothie company, and I was
Okay.
asked to run that. The ButcherBox growth, I as much as I was part of the team, there's brilliant people behind the meteoric growth of that company. At Smoothie Box, they asked me to run it, and so I feel a little more ownership over the growth there. After 4 years, when I look back and did a retrospective on my time starting Smoothie Box and sort of growing it, one of the areas that I felt I could have managed a lot better was content creation. I went through this wild journey of learning how to blog, studying different writers, hiring from content houses, offshoring, writing it domestically, having editors, content, calendars and strategy, SEO people, and then back to the tech and designers to put it in the site. It was a nightmare. I finally ended up hiring 3 young men out of high school, put them through HubSpot Academy, which is free if you haven't done it and you like digital marketing. It's a great sort of foundational trainer. Put them through, train them in the methodology I wanted. And then, turned out they all smoked weed in the parking lot and never wrote anything. And so I was tens of thousands of dollars. I'm scared to say probably six figures invested in content that if I look back, I'd be lying if I said there's a strong return on that. So that's point number one. That's the segue. I have wrestled with content my entire career in doing it cost effectively in a high ROI manner and basically never got it right. Story A. Story B is when ChatGPT came out, I was astounded how tactical I got. And I'm not a just ChatGPT everything type of guy, but what it unlocked for me, and to me it's a real growth unlock, is that ChatGPT will do things pretty good, like at minimum, pretty good. I can confidently say that. I've written email sequences. I think I'm great at writing email sequences, but I can't write it in 10 seconds really well, and ChatGPT can. And so what I found is that ChatGPT made me really actionable, and it's actionable that helps you determine failure and success faster. There's nothing more tragic than delaying failure. Like if it's going to happen, do it so you can move on. Otherwise, it's painful, unnecessarily painful. Life's too short for that. And so for me, action is key. And ChatGPT makes me actionable. There's less me questioning it. Oh, did Sally do a good job on this email sequence? And just, it did it. Let's do it. And we'll iterate from there. It becomes a really solid first baseline. The problem is I was failing in cutting and pasting and doing that daily. It was so amazing and so fast, but I'd still fail in consistency. And that was the birth. Thank you, Tance, for the shameless plug. That was the birth for Content X, which is let's take this powerful Ferrari motor and put it into a car that can handle as well. Let's take ChatGPT. Let's not make all these business owners, even if you're a good business owner, it doesn't make you a prompt engineer. And so to me, unlocking growth from ChatGPT is going to happen once it's integrated into all of our tools that we already use, like Shopify, like WooCommerce, or whatever platform you're on. So what does Content X do? Because certainly it's not going to do content better than Ernest Hemingway. And it's not. If you have Ernest Hemingway on your content team, keep him. But it will do commoditized content really well. What do I mean by that? There's a lot of foundational SEO content that brands can benefit from that they don't write a lot, or I don't see a lot of them writing it. But basically 300 to 500 articles, you can become a topical authority on it. You can increase your domain authority, and you can increase the performance on all of your other channels. You can also get long tail, low cost organic search traffic. When I talked about level 1 sites, the CrossFit website business, 50% of my clients in 23 countries came from one blog post. One blog post. It was what are the top 10 CrossFit websites globally. That was the title. And the blog that followed were 10 sites that I made. And I said it. These are sites I made. Like it was absolutely self-serving. Well, when people Googled best CrossFit websites, you could get the rest of the customer journey. They landed, saw my sites, contacted me. We sold them a site, and it went on. People are sleeping on blogs. That one blog that I wrote in one night lasted for years, generated hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in revenue. So that being said, people are sleeping on it. ChatGPT does it. Content X plugs into your Shopify store, extracts data from your store via API, trains ChatGPT, creates the schedule, writes the blogs, SEOs it, puts it back in your store.
It's amazing.
Schedules it to publish daily.
Harnessing the power of AI for a specific use, and one that is broadly used. I mean, content, we all have to have content in our businesses, and we all have it in some form or another. Yep. And so your tool helps specifically Shopify store owners with that. So, I mean, it's incredible to watch this space with artificial intelligence in general explode as it is right now. And we are seeing AI tools become embedded and ingrained inside of all of the tools we are already using today. And it sounds like you're bringing one into Shopify. So it's exciting
Yep.
to watch that grow and scale going forward. And, definitely intrigued to see some examples of that. I'm gonna have to get with you. I'd love to see some example sites that are already using this as well. So,
Totally.
um, segueing from
Mm-hmm.
that into our final piece is the growth mindset. I love to talk to people about growth and how they scale businesses and how they find ways to grow, but not just with a paid tool or subscription or, whatever that may be, but mindset. I love mindset. I love to think about things and analyze it. And as much artificial intelligence as we have, we still have our own human intelligence. And so I'm looking for you to share with me one growth tactic, actionable growth tip, strategy, something that you yourself do in your businesses, in your professional career, how you apply that and how those listening might be able to, take that with them and apply it to their businesses as well.
Totally. So new entrepreneurs, one sort of mistake that I see that keeps them from growing is this waiting for perfection or this thought that the idea is the win. Oh, I got a great idea. I've never seen a great idea win. I've seen great execution win. And for there to be great execution, you've got to have a hellish commitment to executing whatever's going on. Because at the end of the day, it's the market that determines your success financially. And so for me, the older I'm getting, all I'm doing is getting faster to market. Because I now know that my ideas and my ego have no bearing on my success. In fact, I've got to kill the ego so that I'm seeking the data and the market response to validate my path forward. So my number one growth is get out of the way. Get you out of the way. Dream big and then listen to the market. Get to market and then listen. Content X, I'll say this because I think this is helpful to you. I got Content X to market with a pre-MVP, meaning it wasn't even ready yet. And I thought it was further along than it was. The market immediately told me it wasn't. Our retention was 0. And so you start picking up the phone. What's going on? What's going on? What do you hate about it? All those responses were fixes, were the instructions on what I had to fix going forward. That's all. And so I think a lot of times when you're a young entrepreneur, you fear that negative feedback. It's super anxiety producing. The older I'm getting, I crave it. And so I seek out smart people, and like this sort of fake it till you make it was really cancerous for me. This like stay humble and seek experts has been far more beneficial. So that is like, man, if you're going to give me 3 minutes to rant on something, it's that.
No, I love it, man. I love that you shared that because, I've gone through some of the same things as I get older. Getting out of the way and letting the market tell you what they want. We think, especially those who are in e-com and technology and thinking you've got to have this great, unique idea. My most recent business that I opened was a coffee shop. It's a pretty basic idea. There's nothing novel about it. And yet the market where I opened it responded phenomenally because they wanted it. They wanted that amenity. They wanted a gourmet coffee shop in a small town. We didn't have one. And we brought it in, and it's been a great response. And you think, well, I'm making pretty good money off of this very basic business model that I didn't do anything. All we did was execute. That's literally what we did. We got in there, we executed, and put the right people in place, and it's been a success. The next business that I'm getting ready to open here within the next month and a half is a climate controlled storage facility. There is nothing fun, novel, or interesting about that at all. People are going to come in here, pay us some money, and put their junk in a square piece of metal. But the market is telling us that there's demand for it, and that's why we're opening it.
I love that.
And so, and even with this project, Ruralpreneur, digital marketing and talking to small town and rural business owners, the reason that I got into it was I have so many entrepreneurs who like to talk to me about business and how we, grew. My previous company had a lot of success and how we grew it and scaled and everything and had success. And I actually didn't want to get into helping business owners in small towns and rural communities as much as I wanted to do some other things. But the market was telling me, hey, there's demand for this. And it may not be the biggest, most attractive financially opportunity. You know, I could go try to work with larger clients and things and make a lot more money, but there's demand for this. And every time that I kind of pivot and adjust more and more to what my audience is telling me that they want, I'm seeing that success happen a lot quicker, the growth happen a lot quicker. And so I'm in the middle of that as well
I
with
love that.
this. And I thought I only wanted to focus on individuals who had product based businesses, but now I'm seeing a lot of demand around service based businesses. You know, just I could ramble about it for a long time, like you
Totally.
said, and I'm not going to do that. But yeah, I think that's something that entrepreneurs definitely need to listen to is listen to the market, listen to your customers, prospective clients, and kind of go around that. And once again, that is being in business, talking about separating the craft from just being a business person, which is we think we want to do this one thing and focus on this craft, but if we just focus on being really good at executing the business, the craft of the product there is almost second to it in a sense from being a successful, entrepreneur and business owner. So it's funny how that works out.
It is. When I moved to Florida from up north, and I won't be ranting because I feel like closing this one up. We put our winter stuff in storage because my father had a 9 month uh, diagnosis. Basically, they expected him to live for less than 9 months. All right, let's put our winter stuff in storage. Let's not lug it down to Florida. I've been in Florida for 7 years. Okay.
You're still paying for it.
Well, I just recently, within the last year, closed it down, went up there
Yeah.
because when I had originally planned, COVID hit. And so all of a sudden it was stuck there. So because I'm a businessman, I did the mental exercise of tallying the value of the things in the storage unit with the retrospective of how much I ended up paying to keep it.
Yeah.
And I won't bore you with the details, but I paid 3 times the amount in storage fees than the value of the actual jackets I was sitting in. You know what I mean? I love that business model.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's a funny story. It's interesting. So this is my first venture into that type of business. I'm in some other real estate ventures and such, but the climate controlled storage is the first time I'm getting into it. But yeah, man, there's demand for it, so we're going
Yep.
after it. Awesome, man. Well, look, that was great. I really enjoyed
That was fun.
chatting about everything there. Honestly, there's a lot more I think we could unpack and probably do this again. And I think that's the first time I've said it since I've started doing this. So we'll
All right.
probably do that again one day because I think there's a lot more that you and I could chat about that maybe people would or wouldn't want to listen to, but I enjoyed it. So,
I would
we'll do it either way.
I would love to riff with you on success and failure.
Yeah.
I think you and I could have a real neat conversation that would be
Yeah.
beneficial to a lot of people.
I actually agree on that too, because you and I know some things about each other that obviously we hadn't said on here, and being able to get vulnerable and share things that are challenges or failures or pain points in your life, it's difficult to do that. And, we've discussed that. So I think a lot of people though, maybe would possibly get
I,
something out of that. Maybe that's where
I
we'll
think
go
so.
next time.
I think so, dude. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you. And everybody, if you're listening, go check out Content X app. It's on the Shopify app store. Or if you want an intro with Vin, just message me. I don't have a huge audience, so I'm accessible. Just message me and I can connect you with Vin. And he'd be more than happy to talk to you about that if you have a Shopify store and want to get some content generated. So that's all I've got for today, but I look forward to seeing you next time. All right, cheers.